What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another entry into our Rogue Rumble series where we take a look at some underutilized or overlooked cards and we try to make some rogue deck ideas out of them. And for today we actually have an interesting Zoroark variant for the expanded format. It seemed kind of appropriate with Dallas Regionals almost upon us. And you guys might be thinking, well, Zoroark is definitely not a rogue card whatsoever, so what are you talking about? And that is because we are pairing it with kind of an interesting partner, and that's going to be the Swampert, all the way back from Primal Clash. Kind of a long forgotten about card at this point. I remember prior to the release of Primal Clash, the card had a little bit of hype, definitely had some cool things going for it, but ultimately it kind of fizzled out, and people have since forgotten about it. But actually, it is a card I think that has a good bit of synergy with Zoroark. So let's look at the deck and see what we got going on here. So of course this is going to be mainly a Zoroark deck. So we are running, of course, a thick count of Zoroark, 4 of the Zorua from Dark Explorers with that Paralyzing Gaze attack. This is definitely the preferred one we want to play. 3 Zoroark GX, that's going to be our main attacker in the deck. So you guys are probably well accustomed to what Zoroark does at this point. Has that awesome trade ability, lets you discard a card from your hand and draw 2 cards, which is very central to the theme of this particular version too. So we'll talk more about that once we get the Swampert. But definitely a great ability. Once you have a couple of these in play, you can just start drawing through your deck even without draw supporters. Of course, we play the Propagation Execute in this list too, so we can always discard that for free every time to draw cards. So definitely good. We also have Riotous Beating. Of course, that's the main attack. 20 for every Pokemon that you have in play. So if we have a Skyfield and Choice Band, we can hit for 210, which of course is a great number to hit for. We can't make use of the GX attack. We do not play any Dark Energy, but that's okay. Most of the time, Riotous Beating is just better anyways. But we are still playing the other Zoroarks. We're playing one of these stand-in ones, so it has Mind Jack, 30 for every Pokemon on your opponent's bench. So definitely a good attack, especially with all of these Zoroark variants that are running around. This is definitely a very, very strong one prize attacker to potentially, swing the prize trade back in your favor. Stand-in is also a very solid ability as well. So if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch it with your active Pokemon. So definitely still good. If we have a Floatstone on this, that basically gives our entire board some mobility. Also, we still do have things like Hypnotoxic Laser in the format and stuff like that. So sometimes stand-in can be good to break those status condition locks as well. And then we're also playing the one Zoroark with Foul Play all the way back from Black and White. So just for a DCE, choose one of the defending Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. So definitely a pretty solid move. You can use this in certain situations. There's all sorts of decks you can use this against. Sometimes you can actually just use it to copy Riotous Beating. If you're going against another Zoroark deck, to sometimes turn the prize trade in your favor since it only gives it 1 prize. But there's just a ton of different uses for this particular attack and has a lot of utility. Okay, so going on, we have 1 Execute, like I mentioned, for that propagation attack. If it's in your discard pile, you can return it to your hand. And what's great about this ability is that it basically resets every time it hits the discard again. So if you trade it away, well, that's fine. Even though it says you can only use it once per turn, once it hits the discard and leaves play again, you can reuse this ability. So if you have multiple Zoroarks in play, you can use trade multiple times with this Propagation Execute. It's also great to discard this instead of, real resources when you play things like Ultra Ball. You can also put it on your bench to fuel Zoroark's attack in a pinch if you need to. But yeah, Execute, just a great card with Zoroark. Of course, 1 Sudowoodo for all of the other Zoroark decks that are running around has Roadblock. Your opponent can't have more than 4 bench Pokemon. So this is pretty good just because, like I said, Zoroark is so immensely popular. And if you can get out your own Sudowoodo and Skyfield, it essentially gives you a one-sided Skyfield where you can have 8 bench Pokemon and your opponent can only have 4. So definitely good. Not only against Zoroark, but just so many decks, just limiting the 1 extra bench spot can sometimes make a difference. So, of course, we also have 2 copies of Shaman EX for that setup ability. Whenever you bench it from your hand, you draw until you have 6 cards. So definitely good, in a deck that wants a bunch of Pokemon on the bench like Zoroark. And then, of course, we also have 3 copies of Tapu Lele for that Wonder Tag ability to search out supporters. And, of course, we can use Energy Drive as well since this is a DCE-based deck. So that's all of the kind of standard stuff you'd probably expect to see from Zoroark. But the interesting thing, like I mentioned, is Swampert. So let's take a look at it. So we're playing a 3-1-3 line, And we're playing this for its ability Diving Search. Once during your turn before you attack, you may search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, and put that card on top. So you can probably see the natural synergy here. You essentially have a built-in Mallow, like just sitting on your board every turn. So this is nice because if you get out one or two of these, you can, put a card on top of your deck and then immediately use trade to draw that card. So if you have 2 Swampert and 2 Zoroark, that's basically a trade for any 2 cards you want every turn, which is incredibly powerful. There's so many turns where it's like, man, I just need this one card to pull off my combo. And Swampert just helps with that. Makes your deck a lot more consistent in the mid to late game. Even once your opponent starts hitting you with those late game ends, putting you down only 1 or 2 cards. Swampert is just so good because it can help you draw exactly what you need to close out a game sometimes. So super, super strong card. The only unfortunate thing to Swampert is that it does take up a lot of deck space. It is a stage 2, which forces us to run rare candy as well. So you could debatably, if there's some other stuff that you wanted to fit in here, like puzzles, which I did have to cut to make room for this card, unfortunately. What you can do is you can maybe trim this down to like a 2-1-2 line, but I went for the 3-1-3 line because that basically still gives us an out to setting up 2 Swamperts, even if we prize one or get a Mudkip or something knocked out pretty early. But yeah, guys, moving on to the trainer cards, let's take a look at our supporters to start with. Of course, 2 Sycamore and 2 N. Those are kind of the foundations of a lot of decks. But then we're also playing 1 copy of Chorus as another form of shuffle draw. So I shuffle my hand in my deck and draw equal to amount of bench Pokemon, which is great because especially in a format with Zoroark and players filling their bench up to 8, sometimes you can draw a whopping hand of 16 if both players have a full bench. So definitely a very, very good card in a deck like this that uses Skyfield. Let's see, 2 copies of Bridget, of course, to search out our basics to start getting set up with. 1 copy of Acerola, put 1 Pokemon that has any damage counters on, and all cards attached to it into your hand. So if our Zoroark takes a hit, we can Acerola it up back into our hand and, try to save it from being knocked out. Also, you can do cool plays where, like, if you have, like, a Zoroark and a Zorua in play, you can use trade, Acerola that Zoroark, and then evolve back into it again on another Zorua and use its ability again. So it can sometimes enable some cool, additional ways you can use trade. See, 1 copy of Karen. Each player shuffles all Pokemon in his or her discard pile into her deck. So this is good against Night March in particular, since they do play Marshadow GX, which could potentially be a problem for us. So Karen not only gives us a form of recovery by allowing us to get our own Pokemon back, but it's very disruptive against decks like Night March, and also, I guess, Vespiquen as well, but more importantly, Night March. I think that's going to be the main one I think you'll be more likely to run into. And, typically, I think things like Rescue Stretcher and Super Odd are, a little easier to play and then get Pokemon back and play typically. But since we do run Zoroark, sometimes we can play Karen and still use our trades, and, with Swampert's Diving Search, we can actually get Pokemon back into play that turn as well. Okay, we're playing a split of 1 Lysander and 1 Guzma, just to switch what we want to take knockouts on. Guzma gives us, of course, the added effect of allowing us to switch as well, so that can sometimes have, some utility over Lysander. And I believe that's it for our supporter cards. Moving on to the rest of the trainer cards, of course, 4 Verseeker, just to reuse all the supporters. 3 copies of Skyfield. It's that Stadium card. We can have 8 bench Pokemon in play. Well, actually, both players can. So that will allow our Zoroarks to hit for more damage. A lot of other standard stuff for Ultra Ball, 3 rare candy to get out Swamperts. 1 special charge. Like I said, we are not playing Puzzles of Time. So of course we do still need a way to get back our DCE. So that's why we're playing the 1 copy of Special Charge. 1 copy of Field Blower to discard our opponent's tool cards in stadiums. And let's see, 2 Floatstone just to give ourselves free retreat. Pretty straightforward. And 3 Choice Band just to, of course, increase our damage output a little bit more. Like I've mentioned a couple times, Skyfield with a full bench plus Choice Band, you hit for 210, which is like the perfect number to knock out opposing Zoroark GX. And like I said, we are not playing Puzzle of Time just due to the inherent space issues that a Stage 2 gives us. So for that reason, we are actually choosing to run Dowsing Machine over Computer Search in this particular situation. So discard 2 cards from your hand, and then put a trainer card from your discard pile back into our hand. So that will allow us to get not only item cards, but of course our stadium cards like Skyfield, also supporter cards as well. So, you know, Computer Search definitely a super strong card, but I feel like Dowsing Machine might just be a little stronger here because that will allow us to reuse things like Special Charge to further get back our DCEs. Field Blower, since we only have the one copy, we only play 3 Skyfield as opposed to 4, so Dowsing Machine, like I said, since we're not playing the puzzles, I feel like it might make a little bit more sense in this particular list. But like I said, if you did want to cut your Swampert line down to a 2-1-2 and find room for puzzles, I feel like you can just change this over to Computer Search then. And of course, to round out the list, 4 copies of Double Colorless Energy just to ensure we can attack with Zoroark. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the list we're going to try out. You know, I feel like there's a million different ways to play Zoroark, and this is definitely another fun one. Swampert makes your mid-game and late-game really crazy once you get a couple of these in play. Like I said, the downside is you don't really have room for puzzles in a list like this, but, you know, just being able to draw exactly what you need sometimes is just better. So, but with that being said, let's head over to the battle portion of the video, and I'll show you how this deck looks in action. Guys, so we have ourselves a game here. Just waiting for the game to load. Our opponent has a Solgaleo deck box and a Dialga coin. So if I had to guess, I would just assume we're going to get some sort of Bronzong deck, which I don't know how I feel about it. Really, it just depends. Do they run Aegislash EX? That's going to be the big thing that would really shut down this deck. Unfortunately, this deck did not have room for Hex Maniac, like I mentioned, because we do run that thick Swampert line. So if someone does run Aegislash or something like Xurkitree, we might be in some trouble. And here our opponent, okay, it is going to be some sort of Bronzong deck as I suspected, but like I said, I just have to hope if they do play Aegislash that they bench enough Pokemon for us to knock out in addition to that. But you know, we're definitely going to have some trouble if they do run that. So here I'm going to Lele, going for that first turn Bridget. We actually have a pretty good setup here. So I can play this Bridget, probably getting out, I guess we can do a Zorua since we already have 3 Zoroarks. And so this looks pretty good. The Sudowoodo, that'll definitely be good in this matchup as well, just because these Bronzong decks typically want 2, maybe 3 Bronzongs in play at a time to be able to keep recycling their energy, so limiting their bench space will be pretty good here as well. So here I'm just getting my turn, definitely a pretty solid turn. We have plenty of Zoroarks ready to go, and actually the Foul Play Zoroark may potentially come in handy here depending on what attackers they might run. So let's see what they're going to get here. So we're going to see a Computer Search come down. It's definitely never a card you want to see your opponent throw down. You typically know it's going to be something that is going to mess you up. But here they got rid of a Solgaleo, so maybe this is some sort of Solgaleo GX Bronzong deck. That would make some sense. Solgaleo discards its energy. Bronzong in the expanded format can recycle energy, so that seems like there's some natural synergy there. So let's see what they're going to choose to bridge it out. That'll kind of give us a better idea of what we're working with here. So Sudowoodo and 2 Cosmom. Okay, so they realize they definitely need to get out that Sudowoodo, prevent us from getting Skyfield out, but let's see here. Okay, so we just need a Double Colorless Energy this turn, so let's trade away the Sycamore. Let's see what we can get here. Ooh, nice. We actually have Rare Candy, which is really big. That means we can get out Swampert, and we can actually just use Diving Draw to get out exactly the Double Colorless Energy that we need in order to take a knockout here. And here I actually, yeah, let's evolve into the Foul Play Zoroark because this is actually really good against Solgaleo GX, which can typically just knock out our Zoroark GXs. Even if we have Skyfield in play, we can't knock them out in one hit, but with a Choice Band, we can actually use Foul Play to copy Sunseal Strike for a knockout. So Foul Play, I could definitely see being good here. So we're going to trade this Ace Roll away. Luckily in Expand we have versus Seekers, so we can kind of easily throw away our supporters if we need to. And here, let's see, just going to Ultra Ball away the Ultra Ball and Sycamore. And let's see, we have Execute Prize. I actually kind of wanted us to be able to Sycamore that thing away. But okay, so Execute's Prize, not a big deal. But, you know, nevertheless, we're in a good spot here, I think. Okay, we do have a Zorua. Unfortunately, our opponent does have Sudowoodo in play, so we cannot bench it. But honestly, we might even not need to get out Skyfield for a while, just because, like I said, we can't knock out Solgaleo GX in one hit anyways. So they're going to promote Cosmo, Rescue Stretcher, getting back. Looks like Solgaleo GX, so they must have Rare Candy in hand ready to go, and I'm actually completely fine with this. You know, they're probably going to use that Soul Burst GX attack, and if they do, I am fine with that yet again, just because, like I said, we have this Foul Play Zoroark to be able to take a knockout. So let's see, do they have an energy? That's going to be the big thing. I'd imagine they run a ton of energy in this deck, so let's see. Okay, they're going to bench a Tapu Lele, so maybe they're benching that to potentially have some more targets to attach energy to with the Solgaleo GX. That could be a consideration. Otherwise, I feel like it's better just to hold the Lele till next turn, so I'd imagine that's probably what we're going to see here. So our opponent's going to use Swampert GX, lets them attach 5 energies out of their deck. And here it looks like they actually attached at least one of them to Solgaleo, so... Oh, they have 2 on Solgaleo. It's even better. We can definitely take a knockout here. So let's see, what do we do? We can Diving Search. We need Choice Band. That's going to be the big thing here to take a knockout no matter what. Hopefully we can also draw into a Float Stone. That would be nice to not have to discard our Double Colorless energy, but even if we have to, we have Special Charge, so not a big deal. So here, let's trade away this Karen. Definitely not a card we need right now. And let's trade again. What do we get rid of? Maybe get rid of Swampert. That seems okay to me. We can always get that back with Karen if we choose to. And we don't draw into anything else too good, but we can take a knockout here, which is what's most important. And so here we can use Foul Play to copy Sunsteel Strike, do 260. We do have to discard our Double Colorless energy, but we do have a Special Charge ready to go to get these things back. And we have Swampert in place. We can just get one right out of the deck again. I think maybe one thing I could have done is actually play Ultra Ball this past turn to potentially thin some cards out of my hand. We don't really need Bridget anymore. Probably don't need Rare Candy, so I think I should have done that in case we got end, because we did see our opponent go for that end with Tapu Lele last turn. So slight little misplay. But like I said, we run the Swampert, so even if we do get end into a low hand size, we can draw out of it, getting exactly what we need if possible. So your opponent's going to play Colress. Okay, so they're not going to choose to end. That's definitely a little suspicious, I think. Maybe they just think, you know what, I need too many things in play this turn, so I'm going to opt to play the Colress, get some extra cards instead. So they're going to go for the Cosmoem. That's interesting. Alrighty, so if... You know, I forget if Guzma is actually in the deck, because if Guzma is prized, then that would be bad, because honestly I think I want to Guzma this turn and take out this Cosmoem. So here we can Special Charge, getting back those 2 Double Colorless energies. But here, no, we need Double Colorless energy, so man, it's actually a little bit tough, because we want to play Guzma to take a knockout on Cosmoem, but at the same time, you know, we want to get energy in play. And so here, what we can do, if we can draw into one of those cards, if we can draw into DCE, we can use Diving Search for the other piece of the puzzle that we need. And so I could trade, like I said, to maybe draw some extra cards first to see, you know, what we get before committing to our Diving Search. So we can do that. Oh, and actually, I probably should have Ultra Balled here again, so I keep forgetting to thin out my hand a little bit. And unfortunately, both cards we drew not too great. Dowsing Machine, definitely a good card. This is a situation where Computer Search actually would have been a lot better, so kind of regretting playing the Dowsing Machine in this specific situation. But here we can still Diving Search. We're not in a terrible spot. And we can go for the Double Colorless energy still. Well, actually, you know what we can do? We can... Okay, so we have a play we can make. We have Acerola in the discard pile. We can actually use Dowsing Machine to get Acerola to pick up this Zoroark, because we kind of want to save this to be able to attack into Solgaleo GX whenever it gets up and running. So I think that actually might be a good play that would allow us to save this Zoroark to make sure it does not get knocked out. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. So we can get rid of maybe... Ultra Ball seems pretty good. Maybe beyond that we can get rid of Mudkip, or maybe an N. That could also be a consideration. I think either of those are probably fine at this point. So let's do that. We can grab that Acerola to pick up that damaged Zoroark that's in the active spot. Actually lets us preserve our Choice Band as well, just in case of a Field Blower or something like that. So kind of happy with this play. You know, we're not taking a knockout, but we're saving our, you know, best attacker in this situation. And so here we can, yeah, I guess just do Riotous Beating for 100. We could attach the Choice Band, but honestly, we don't even really need to. I want to kind of preserve these just in case of you know, things like field blowers and ends and stuff like that. I want to have the most amount of outs possible to getting our Foul Play Zoroark, Choice Band, all that type of stuff. So here our opponent does have Solgaleo GX, so they're probably going to start actually putting on some pressure here. But you know what, even if they do, I'm pretty confident about, you know, the situation we're going to be in. But our opponent has N, which is unfortunate. But we do have Swampert in play, so we are guaranteed at least one of the pieces that we need to, you know, to kind of make a counterattack here. Oh, but our opponent has Bronzong Break. That's actually interesting. It actually could be a pretty relevant attacker. It has an interesting attack. I think it's called Metal Rain, but you discard any number of energy from your hand, or from your Pokemon as you want, and you do 30 for each one to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So they can discard their energy and knock out our Zorua before it gets set up into the Foul Play Zoroark. So definitely a good play from our opponent, kind of realizing that is going to be the main way we can answer the Solgaleo GX. Otherwise, it's kind of a hard card to really deal with. Okay, so we get double Kairos energy. And I guess we can attach to the bench. So what do we do here? What do we do? Okay, we have Guzma, so we can diving search potentially for a Pokemon and then take a knockout. That is definitely an option as well. So yeah, we can do that. We can put Zorua back in play. So actually what we can do here is we can get out Zorua, bench it, and we can take a knockout on this Tapu Lele with Guzma. I actually feel pretty confident about our board state if we can make that happen. We'll go down to 1 prize. Or we could actually take a knockout on Sudowoodo as well, but I'm kind of worried if our opponent has Acerola or something like that, that could be pretty bad for us. So I'm kind of tempted to just get the 2 prizes off this Tapu Lele. Kind of risky because we do make ourselves more susceptible to N, but well, let's see what happens here. We're going to go for it. Hopefully we don't get too punished first. But here, oh, we can actually trade. And yeah, let's trade away this other Zoroark. I don't think we're going to need it. We're definitely going to prefer the Foul Play one if possible. Okay, so even if we get knocked out, we do have a Shaman. We can bench to draw some more cards for next turn as well. Alright, so we get double Kairos Energy and Floatstone. Definitely a couple cards I don't mind drawing off these prizes, especially if we get N, that's more outs to drawing our double Kairos Energy. So here our opponent is going to go for a Versus Seeker, going for an N, and here we might be in some trouble because our opponent can actually accelerate 2 Metal Energies back out of the discard pile onto Bronzong Break, and then they can use Solgaleo GX's Ultra Road ability to bring it into the active spot and take another knockout on Zorua. But honestly, I feel kind of okay if that's what they do, because all we need to do now is Lysander or Guzma up the Sudowoodo, and that is the last prize. All we need is Guzma and a basic. Okay, so, but here they're going to choose to take a knockout, starting to put on some pressure here. Okay, so we're going to do 230, knocking out Zoroark GX. So another option is if we can get Foul Play Zoroark DCE Choice Band, but that might be a lot to ask for. But here we get a basic, so that's actually pretty good because now we can just diving search for the Lysander to take a knockout here. So put that Lysander on top of our deck. We can bench Mudkip, filling our bench size. That means we hit for 100 damage at this point. So here we're going to use trade, get rid of that Swampert, and yep, we can Lysander up the Sudowoodo and take a knockout. So luckily we did not see an Aegislash EX or something like that. That would have definitely been some trouble for us, but you definitely see the power of Swampert there. But here let's try out another game, and our opponent is going to call it the coin flip, which we do once. That's always a good thing to see. So here we're going to go first, and our opponent has some sort of water deck, it appears. So maybe Greninja, could be Seismitoad, that could also be potentially annoying, but let's see what happens here. And okay, so we actually have a pretty solid little opening hand here. So we have a couple of Zorua, we have Lele, Mudkip, Skyfield, all sorts of good stuff are ready to go. So here, yeah, I guess we'll bench Mudkip, why not? And moment of truth, what does our opponent have? Okay. Let's see. Okay, they're drawn for Mulligan. So, Trubbish. So, if I had to guess, I would assume this is most likely some sort of Seismitoad based deck. If they're playing Garbodor, that just makes sense. Item lock plus ability lock, or Trash Lanch even. So, makes sense to me. But here, normally I would actually go for Bridget, but we don't really have a supporter or any way to draw cards ready to go for next turn. So honestly, I think I might just draw, get the end here. That way we can get rid of that extra card our opponent drew off of mulligan and refresh your hand in the process. So yeah, I think I like that. So let's try that. And unfortunately, we do have a couple of DCEs prized. I think it was. So hopefully that does not come back to bite us here. And this hand is not very good either. Definitely we'll get the Sudowoodo down just to maybe annoy our opponent a little bit. And do we attach the float sound? That's the big thing. But here I'm just going to opt to not attach it. It's a little risky. Just kind of betting our opponent does not have turn 1 item lock. Honestly though, I probably should have attached it to Sudowoodo. I think that would have been a good choice. Here our opponent has, they have Floatstone, Verbank. Seismitoad with a Fury Belt, which is actually a big problem for us because even with Skyfield in play and we max out our bench and have choice and we can't knock out the Seismitoad in one hit. And here luckily our opponent is going for an end. That is like the best thing we could possibly see here. So unfortunately we did not play down the Floatstone, but hopefully, like I said, it won't come back to hurt us. And okay, so this hand is workable as long as our opponent does not put down a Sudowoodo of their own. We're going to be okay, I think. Here, our opponent's going to go for a Quaking Punch, which is very annoying. Okay, and here we draw Execute, so that's interesting. So what do we do here? We don't really need Floatstone, Rare Candy, or Reverse Seeker, so I think about going for a Sycamore. I kind of like to save Acerola, but I kind of like the idea of putting Execute in the discard pile as well. So I think it's a little risky of getting rid of the Acerola. Definitely I could see this being a card that could be good against Seismitoad, but opting just to try to hit what we need this turn. Okay, we can actually make this work. So we have the Foul Play Zoroark. It's not the one that we really want, but it actually is useful here. We can copy our opponent's Quaking Punch to lock their item cards as well. We could copy Grenade Hammer, but in this case I feel like I rather lock them out of item cards and kind of disrupt them a little bit. That'll ensure that we actually can survive a Quaking Punch. That'll make sure that our opponent can't play Hypnotoxic Laser to knock us out. So I think that's actually pretty big here. Kind of hoping we could draw into Swampert this game, or Marshtomp, the middle evolution. That would be nice, but here we're just going to go for, I guess we just go for the Quaking Punch. It seems okay to me. And so let's see how our opponent is going to respond without their own item cards. Oh, they have a Colress. That's definitely not a supporter I want to see. So our opponent is going to refresh their hand here to a massive, what was that, like 10 cards or something? Okay, so we're going to see a Quaking Punch, like I thought, putting us at 80 damage, ensuring we don't get knocked out this turn, but this is not a hand I want the Sycamore away, but at the same time, like, what do we do here? We need another double Colress energy. So, well, one thing we can do, we can maybe propagate this Execute and trade it away, maybe try to draw into double Colress energy. That would be nice, because I really don't want to discard Special Charge and Dowsing Machine, because we already have some double Colress energies prized, and one is going to go down on this Zoroark next turn, so what do we do? That's the question. So we're just going to trade, getting rid of Execute. And a bunch of cards we can't use. We can at least play down the Zorua, that's nice at least. So we can put down, well, do we even want to bench the Mind Jack Zoroark? Well, yeah, because we still have another Zorua in play, so maybe, but maybe it's better just to draw through our deck, I don't know. Tough decision here. I think it can go either way. Yeah, I think it's probably fine. Yeah, I feel like we have to Sycamore, unfortunately. We just... I mean, because even if I don't Sycamore, our punch is going to keep using Quaking Punch anyway, so it's not even like we're going to be able to use this Special Charge, so I think it might be better just to dig through our deck more now, but well, let's wait it out. Our opponent is going to knock out Zoroark next turn, so if we can just draw into DCE without having to Sycamore our Special Charge away, that would be ideal. But here our opponent has Acerola, which is very annoying. But the only good thing about this is that now our opponent can't play Fighting Fury Belt because we've used Quaking Punch on them, which means Zoroark GX actually can knock out this Seismitoad if we get a double Colress energy and a bench Pokemon. So this is actually a pretty big opportunity for us to come back into this game here. We draw rare candy, nothing too special there. I guess we can trade first. I don't know if it really makes a difference in this case. So let's trade, getting rid of execute. What do we get? What do we get? Another Swampert. Okay, so nothing too crucial, and Ultra Ball. The only thing I'm scared about now is our opponent plays Trash Winch Garboater, which means they are going to be hitting for an insane amount of damage. I'm assuming they're playing Psychic Energies or Rainbows to potentially do that. But here we actually draw pretty well. We have the double colorless energy ready to go. We have Shaman, so we can actually draw a few extra cards, and also in the process, you know, get one more bench Pokemon down to do the necessary amount of damage that we need to knock out this Seismitoad. So here we can trade. Let's get rid of Bridget. We don't really need that too much at this point. Okay, so I think we're fine now. We need a double colorless energy though. That's going to be a big thing. I would not be surprised if our opponent plays Hammers or Flare Grunts or something like that. So unfortunately that is not a double colorless energy, so that's pretty bad. And our opponent has Hypnotoxic Laser. You know, I'm not too worried about that. And they have Enhanced Hammer, which is unfortunate. Here our opponent has Get This. I'm honestly really not too worried about that, just to be honest. It's not like we can even really use anything, but our opponent's going to get down a couple tool cards. They're going to play a Field Blower, getting rid of our Sky Field. Definitely seems like a good choice on their part. So, yeah, we definitely get rid of Shamans. Tapu Lele, that seems fine to me. So we definitely want to keep Mudkip in play just because we can get out Marsh Stomp next turn. And here, what do we do? What do we do? So we have Guzma. We could potentially... I'm sorry, Lysander. We could potentially try to stall. That is definitely a consideration. We can maybe try to bring up Lele. I think that is worth mentioning. So if we can break the lock for one turn, I feel like that'll give us a chance to maybe come back in this. So here, let's trade. Getting rid of Execute. What do we get? What do we get? Nothing useful. Okay, so we're going to do Field Blower here. Seems pretty good. And, okay, so we're going to play Skyfield down. So we got Marsh Stomp. We can evolve into that. Then we could potentially trade again. Or, oh, you know what we can do? Since we actually do have access to our item cards, since our opponent did not get double colorless energy, I just realized that we do have our item cards back. So what we can actually do is carry in all this Pokemon. Actually, I probably should have gotten back Execute first. A little bit of a misplay on my part. I do apologize about that. But now we can actually grab Shaman and start digging through our deck a little bit more here. So we can get rid of Bridget and maybe Choice Band? That seems good because even with Choice Band, that doesn't knock out a Fury Bellied Toad. So here we can keep that Mudkip to potentially put on the bench to help us fulfill our attack. I think we just have one double colorless energy left at this point, so we really need to hit it. We have 18 cards in deck, but we have a Shaman. I think we still have another trade at our disposal as well. So let's see what we get here. Okay, we get Mudkip. So here we need to keep digging though, so I can get rid of probably Tapu Lele and the other Mudkip. That seems good to me. We can grab Shaman to grab that very last bench spot as well. That's an option. Can get rid of the Zoroark, I guess. I suppose that's fine. We don't even have a Zorua in play anyway, so actually that's probably a little bit better. Okay, so do we hit it? Okay, and we do get the double colorless energy. It's really big. And honestly, the big thing here, we need double colorless energy off these prizes, because this is our last one. And if we don't get one, this deck cannot actually go the distance this match. But if we do get one down, I actually feel pretty good about our situation, because then we can actually get back... we can actually just knock out Lele for game. Oh wait, no, they have a Fury Belt on that. And we don't have Choice Band anymore, so maybe I should not have gotten rid of Choice Bands. Here, gonna grab Sycamore. Honestly, I guess it's fine. Actually, maybe N probably would have been better, so apologize, guys. I feel like I'm on tilt a little bit in this game, but here, it's not even going to really matter if we don't hit double Colorless Energy, and we get Rare Candy, and we get Guzma. Okay, so this is all good, though. As long as our opponent doesn't get rid of our energy, we can actually... Well, never mind. Okay, so we lose. Oh my god. Guys, we were so close. And our opponent gets Garbotoxins. This is like the perfect turn for them, I feel like. We don't have access to Dowsing Machine or Special Charge. Both of them did get discarded early on. This is bad, this is bad. And they have the double Colorless Energy to item lock us as well. And so let's see, what else are they going to do this turn? I don't know what else they really need. They have everything they could have asked for. If they have a Field Blower, that could also be good as well, getting rid of our Sky Field. And they have Laser, why not? So they have Laser. Like I said, I think Field Blower would be like the ultimate, or Burbank City Gym would be like the ultimate like way to end their turn. So they're going to discard a couple things here. And Quaking Punch, so they did not bump our stadium, but like I said, it doesn't even matter. They blocked our item cards. We have no more double Colorless Energies left. And actually, guys, I ended up going on to lose this game. Sorry, I did cut this game short, but I basically just played a super long, drawn-out game of just like draw passing and playing Guzma and Lysander, and it really just was not fun to watch. And you know, if we didn't prize those double Colorless Energies, or we just had one of those turns where we could actually use Special Charge or Dowsing Machine, we would have been, I think, in an okay spot. But, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes, guys. But nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this look at this weird Swampert Zoroark GX deck. Definitely really fun, and, you know, I definitely think it has some pros to it and advantages over maybe other partners that have been put with Zoroark in the past. But anyways, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you can support the channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, it'd be greatly appreciated. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.